It is starting now. You're on.
Awesome. Well, hello, everybody. For those of you virtually right now and maybe later on the YouTube channel, my name is Madison Zulwitz, and I am the event coordinator here at DUG. So I'm just going to give a quick introduction about DUG, who we are, what all we offer, and I can help answer any questions at the end if you have any. So DUG is a free community for users, implementers, and resellers of Microsoft business applications. Our main goal is to support the Microsoft D365 and Power Platform community, as well as a few GP people still out there. We hope to give people the tools that they need to empower and grow in their personal and professional careers. We ask that these meetups are held to be solely educational. So our rules of engagement is essentially no sales pitches. We really don't see any issues in this group ever. So I feel like I don't need to dive too deep into it, but please no sales pitches. We want everybody to be able to come to these meetups and gain some free education and network with each other and not feel like they're being sold a product. Dynamics User Group, or DUG for short, we offer multiple different free programs. So if you're not familiar with some of them, we offer a free online open discussion forum. So if you have a specific question related to you, your company, the tools that you're using, and you need help, I would suggest going to our forum, and our community can kind of help answer any questions that you might have. They're the experts. They can definitely help point you in the right direction. We also have webinars year-round that are virtual, similar to these, but kind of focus on one specific topic. We have our local meetups like this one. Some of them are virtual, some of them are in person. So I know a lot of you are coming from all around the world. We highly encourage people to join more than one meetup group if there's one near you. So if you want to find the one in your local area, you can visit our website and get you set up there. We also have our YouTube channel where all of our virtual meetups like this one get posted. So it's a great way to see what everybody around the world is talking about. And I'm sure that if you have a question about anything D365 related, somebody has probably spoken about it in a meetup. So really great free educational tool there as well. We also have our DynamicsCon regionals. These are a little bit larger in scope than our smaller meetups like this one. So they are typically full day, sometimes 2-day events. They're in person and they're based by region. So we typically have 3 to 4 breakout rooms, and each breakout room focusing on a specific product track. We'll have a full day of education. We have lots of networking. We'll have lunch, a social hour. These are all free to attend as well as an attendee. So if you were in any of these local areas, we would highly encourage you to come. Again, totally free. And we want you to be able to come, learn some education, and get some networking. So we're going to Canada, Rocky Mountain, Ohio, Texas, and Southeast, which is in Tampa, Florida. These are all of our North America regionals, and then we're also going international. We are going to East and West Africa and Europe this year. So super excited to be expanding. And then we have our largest conference of the year. We actually just had this 2 weeks ago, our 2025 DynamicsCon. It is an almost full week of education and networking. It's a fantastic event if you are new to Dynamics or just interested in getting more involved in the community. We are going to Vegas for our next DynamicsCon in 2026 from May 12th to the 15th. And if you are interested in attending, you can scan that QR code and you get our early bird rate. So if you're interested in attending, I would highly suggest scanning the QR code and getting the rate while it's cheaper. And if anybody has any questions or anything, feel free just to message me in the chat and I'd be happy to help. And with that, I'll pass it back over to Ernest. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Madison, for sharing all of that great information and content. I'm happy to see that we have a full schedule of DUG4GOV and DUG events coming up. I'm hoping to be able to make the one in Texas since I am in Texas. But with no further ado, we have our LCRA, Lower Colorado River Authority, is with us today from the Austin areas, which is where I live. I'm really happy to have our agency here so close to me to be able to come and present on their OMAT, which is their maintenance and activity tracker for the hydro operations and dam operations that they have here in Texas. And so with no further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Tracy and George from LCRA. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks all. My name is Tracy Reinhardt. I'm the manager for the Microsoft team here at LCRA. My team is responsible for administration of the various Microsoft 365 products. Of course, Power Platform is a part of that. So I oversee a team of Power Platform admins. George Resendez is one. He'll be doing the presentation. Kevin Wise is our other admin, and he's also on the call as well. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to get.
That's okay. Let me share my screen.
Okay, got it now. Sorry.
You got it?
I think I got it.
All right, go ahead and go to the next slide. Before George takes over, I'm going to give just a little highlight of the LCRA. Folks outside of Texas may not be familiar with us. We are the Lower Colorado River Authority. And we are, as Ernest stated, we are based in Austin, Texas. So not in Colorado, which is another source of confusion because there is a Colorado River in Colorado. That's not us. Basically, our mission, as stated, is to enhance the quality of life of the Texans we serve through water stewardship, energy, and community service. George, can you go to the next slide? Just a little bit of background. We were created by the Texas legislature in 1934. LBJ actually had a hand in our creation. And our main responsibility is we produce and deliver electric power. And we do this wholesale to various co-ops and cities in our service area, which ranges from Lake Buchanan to Matagorda Bay. So it's quite an expansive service area. So we manage the lower Colorado River and provide a reliable water supply. We also manage a system of public parks. We've got about 11,000 acres of parkland that we oversee and various parks and nature science centers and things like that along the Colorado River. And we support community development through grants. We also sell various services or provide, various services such as, radioing and telecommunications for emergency responders within that area. So kind of where our journey began with the Power Platform, a few years ago, we started having a lot of users, their interest was piqued by the Power Platform because it can do so much. And that's when we brought George on board. And in this time, we kind of solicited some of our executives to find some use cases for kind of getting into our Power Platform journey. OMAT was the use case that we chose for our first really robust app. And this is used by our dam and hydro folks to kind of track different operational tasks as well as maintenance tasks, all the way from reporting it, requesting approval, all the way through to project closeout. I'll let George give a little bit more of the detail, but they were kind of using, various manual ways of tracking, of course, spreadsheets and things like that. So this really kind of brought it all into one app and provided some efficiencies for them. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to George and go on mute. Thanks, George.
Awesome. Thanks, Tracy. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining our presentation today. So as Tracy mentioned, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about our Power App that we that we were asked to present today. So this was a very unique use case, as Tracy mentioned, in that it's replacing a process that was extremely manual. There were various disparate sources. It was very much old school in every sense of the word. So the Dam and Hydro team, as Tracy mentioned, reached out to us to help them build a tool that would bring everything together into one environment, let them manage things from a single view, and Power Apps was determined to be a perfect fit. As mentioned, the current state tools didn't exist. Everything was managed very manually. So This is very much our 1.0 release on pulling everything together. So as you'll see in the next slides, what we wanted to do is digitize that entire process because it was very manual. There was very little automation. Things were all over the place, to say the least. So the outcome was to provide a cohesive application that would allow them to track the various stages of the project. Think of it as just when you purchase a vehicle and you're just sitting there filling out form after form after form. Each form is unique in and of itself. And that was a challenge for me as the developer to kind of bring that in-house and find a way to present it in a way that it was digestible to the end user without having them feel like they're filling out an endless DocuSign form. So we're hoping we landed on that. And this is kind of a bird's eye view of what we did is we're providing, we have various roles for various users. And the way we tried to decouple the, I guess, monotony of filling out forms is just showing people in their various roles only the information that we're asking for them at that point in time. So from left to right, you can see we're asking for there's various roles for employees, for managers, for leadership, for stakeholders, so on and so forth. And in each part of the process, we're trying to keep it as simple and as clean as possible for that respective user. So to do that, I mean, we leveraged everything that was at our disposal within Power Apps. We're using Azure security groups to make it even more dynamic. So we don't necessarily care if as employees move throughout the organization. As soon as they're dropped from Azure security groups, they'll be dropped from the various roles and consequently added to those roles as well. And the app, as soon as you load it, it'll pick it up because we'll check. That will also control what we see in the menus on the side. So various roles, employees are just going to be able to submit observations and see what they've submitted. Managers is the same thing. So anyone within the application can submit an observation, but depending on your role within the role that you've been assigned within the app, you're only going to see specific controls. So under the hood, some of the tools we used, I mean, we use pretty much every tool in the stack. Power Apps, that's our main overall application experience. Power Automate we utilized for the workflow automation. Power BI, we directly embedded it within the Power App by way of Power BI tiles. We leverage the Outlook connectors for notifications, approval solicitations, reminders. Azure security groups we used, as I mentioned, to control the roles within the application so that we didn't have any hard-coded users, so on and so forth. So that was all managed there. And we use SharePoint on the backbone to be our data store and our document archive, because part of the closure process was to create a PDF and store it for records. So we're leveraging a document archive for that. The various connectors, as you see, I mean, it's pretty lightweight. We're just using the usual suspects: OneDrive, SharePoint, O365 users, groups, and Word Online. So Word Online is what we used on the tail end process to create that template that we would ultimately save as a PDF. And I did kind of highlight there that was a premium connector, so we had to license accordingly for that reason. Slide. Design methodology and practices implemented. As I mentioned, we hard-coded nothing to make it agile, flexible, scalable, everything stored in SharePoint. And that makes quick changes super simple because all we're doing is referencing a list. We leveraged code components for the side menus, the headers. A lot of that we wanted to do it once and reuse it as much as possible. Context variables, these we found, this was kind of a trial and error thing for me. I was always used to, if you watch the countless videos on YouTube, everyone loves using set, but the problem with those is they follow you everywhere you go and they start adding weight to your application. So before you know it, things start getting really slow and things start getting confused. So we tried to be as thoughtful as possible in using update context versus set whenever possible, so that as soon as you leave the screen that you're currently on, things die, things stay clean, the application stays performant. Environment variables, that's going to go along with my first point of hard coding nothing. So we wanted to separate anything that we needed to reference in multiple instances and keep them siloed in one area. So app URLs, security group GUIDs, environment names that we display in the headers. We stored them in their own environment variables and referenced them wherever needed. And that one too, I put a point on there that Power Apps does have a connector to reference these, that reference environments variables that were created in the solution, but that kind of makes a premium. So we were able to do the same thing by, again, storing things in a SharePoint list. I'll pause there really quick. Does anyone have any questions, comments, thoughts on the methodology thus far? Cool.
No.
No news is good news. All right, let's. Okay, so this brings us to the demo portion. We worked with our video team to put together a small demonstration to kind of walk you through the journey. It's a brief journey because what we're doing here again in our 1.0 version, we're capturing a ton of information, but we're bringing it all to one cohesive location to use it as needed. And once we're able to do that, we're able to build reporting, we're able to audit, we're able to generate KPIs, because all that information that used to live everywhere, so to speak, is now in one SharePoint site, so to speak. So with that, I'll kick off the demo. Please let me know if there is sound associated, so I'm hoping it works, but if y'all don't hear any sound, please let me know and I'll try to fix that.
OMAT was designed to digitize what was previously a series of documents, spreadsheet entries, and manual processes. One of the key challenges in designing the application was determining how to present all the necessary information in a cohesive, logical journey while also minimizing excessive scrolling and keeping the end user engaged. To address this, we developed a process that gathers user input in digestible, logical, and meaningful chunks. The following demonstration will guide you through a sample observation submission, from initial observation to project closure. The observation screen is designed to collect only the essential information needed to initiate the process. Validation is enabled for all required fields and is dynamically adjusted in certain cases, depending on the user's selections during the observation entry. The interface leverages a combination of SharePoint and O365 user-populated dropdowns to enhance usability. Upon submission, the request is sent to the corresponding manager for the selected OU location, both via email notification and immediate access within the application. The Open Observations screen displays all submissions a user has made, with each user and approving manager only able to view their own submissions and pending approval items. Additionally, a progress bar control provides a visual indicator for the submitting user, showing where their request is in the process. From the Open Observation screen, authorized managers can review pending approval items and decide whether to approve or deny newly submitted requests. If a request is approved, the approving manager must provide the required justification, which is then forwarded to leadership for the next approval step. Note, at each approval stage, the approving manager has the ability to amend the prior user's submission information. The approved observation screen displays all items that have been approved by managers and are now awaiting leadership approval. Similar to the previous approval stage, leadership-level approvers can amend any previously submitted information as part of the justification process. They then submit the necessary recommendation, which is forwarded to leadership for final review. Once an approved recommendation is made, the process advances to the planning phase. During this phase, leadership provides all necessary project planning details required for launch. Since planning can extend over several weeks, this phase was designed to be completed in steps, incorporating a save progress feature. Upon the initial save, leadership users can begin adding dependent tasks, controls, and expenses related to the project. To enhance usability, galleries were leveraged in the open project plan screens, allowing for seamless integration of custom maintenance controls into a cohesive experience. A combination of modern control tab lists and custom navigation menu components, intentionally designed to resemble the tab lists, ensures consistency in the user interface. Once the required planning information is captured, the project is ready for scheduling and execution. The active project screen provides leadership with a centralized view of all ongoing projects and those ready for execution. From this screen, projects can be marked as started, on hold, or completed. Once a project begins, it must be marked as completed before proceeding to the next phase. Upon completion of a project, the Send Survey option becomes available, allowing leadership to notify stakeholders to submit the required acceptance survey for project closeout. Additionally, recurring back-end processes send weekly reminders to stakeholders until the survey has been completed. When a designated stakeholder clicks the link in their email notification, they are redirected to the OMAT application, which loads with restricted access, allowing only the submission of the acceptance survey. Note, application controls on the left-hand menu are intentionally hidden. Upon submission, the user is seamlessly returned to the home screen. At this point, the email link is invalidated, as the acceptance process is now marked as complete. Once the acceptance survey is completed, the project closeout option becomes available, allowing users to initiate the closing process. Similar to the initial planning phase, project closeout can take several weeks to complete. To accommodate this, a save feature was implemented, enabling users to add information incrementally as it becomes available. Upon project completion, all statuses are updated accordingly, and a hard copy (PDF) of the requested project information is generated and stored in a SharePoint document library. Key project details are then made available to authorized users via the project archive, accessible in a read-only state. To enhance the information capture process, a reporting element was incorporated, with the decision to embed necessary reports directly into the application for a seamless end-to-end user experience. Tab list controls were implemented to streamline navigation between reports, ensuring intuitive access. Each report is individually embedded as a Power BI tile for enhanced visibility and functionality.
All right, guys. Well, that was the application. Sorry, it was a little quick, but there's a lot of, like I mentioned, there's a lot of information that we capture, and we wanted to, make it digestible and not have you guys sit and watch me type really, really slow. So I sped that piece up. But with that, that is, as I mentioned, that's our 1.0 release of the application. Version 2.0 is already in the works, and it's going to essentially make this one look really, really outdated really fast, but this is still a very cool application. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
George, that was amazing. What did you use for your record for your video? What did you do that in?
I used my phone a friend option. So I partnered with the folks in our video department to put together a nice slideshow for us. So
Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I just want to make sure we open the floor if there are any questions. I have some, but I want to open the floor first.
Hi, this is Mick. I've got some questions. I work at ERCOT, so I'm familiar with LCRA. So appreciate what you guys do.
Awesome.
So with that, like, what was your background and previous Power App experience before you kind of got into this role?
I've been doing business intelligence for the better part of 15 plus years. So I've used various other products, SAP, MicroStrategy. I mean, you name it. I've dabbled in it a bit. Crystal Reports. I was also a web developer. Did some graphic design. So I had experience on how painful it was to build these types of web applications by hand. So using these tools, it was like, gosh, where was this 5-10 years ago? It's like I had to write, we're writing HTML, CSS by hand, coming up with the JavaScript, creating all the connections, so on and so forth. So that's I've really grown to appreciate how quickly these tools are advancing and making, folks like us, developers, our lives a lot easier.
Okay, and so I guess my next question kind of flows into that. So it sounds like you and Tracy are on a Microsoft team that kind of provides some of these services to the organization, or do you guys allow end users to kind of access the platform and kind of initiate on their own?
Yes and yes. We do provide service as needed, guidance, best practices, so on and so forth. But we do, I mean, we very much want to empower our user community to use the tools that are available to all of us. So, I mean, everything I use to build OMAT, anyone in the company can build it. I mean, there's no magic there. So
like, how are you guys evangelizing that? Like, I mean, other than showing, hey, this is a great tool that we just created, you know, you guys have access to this as well, or you know, do you have an internal user community, or you know?
yes, great question. We do. So we have what we call the Power Platform Champions Forum, which we meet quarterly. And we just solicit friends. I mean, like I personally reached out to folks that I've partnered with throughout you know, it's quarterly, so throughout that year. And I asked them to come and present. I mean, a lot of folks are doing really cool things. So we invite, you know, key stakeholders from all the business units to come in and just, you know, share knowledge. Which is, I think, at least in my experience, it's been unique to LCRA. I've worked for other organizations where folks are doing really, really slick things, but they're all living in silos and nobody likes to share. When this is the exact opposite. I mean, we're doing exactly what you guys are doing in these meetups, is bringing folks together, sharing lessons learned. You know, I mean, things that, you know, snags. Everyone hits potholes from that, you know, here and there. Folks are trying to do things that maybe someone else has already done. So, I mean, we definitely, we do as much as we can to make it a community type thing, much like, you know, Ernest and team are doing as well.
My last question, and I'll turn it over. But so, being in kind of the energy space and highly regulated space and that kind of thing, you guys face challenges with like cybersecurity and compliance and information governance, and those guys kind of shutting you down? Or how do you navigate that, you know? Yeah.
We partner very closely with cyber and make sure that we are accessing data that we should be accessing, and so on and so forth, and making sure that we're only, you know, loading things into the cloud that should exist in the cloud. So yeah, we are in very close partnership with all of those teams.
Do you find it difficult to provide that self-service ability and manage them from not, you know, getting in trouble with cyber and that kind of thing? Or do you guys have a lockdown in a way that it's you guys help them help themselves?
Not yet. As we mentioned, I mean, this is one of our first power apps. So, I mean, that being said, we're doing everything we can to make sure we're playing nice, and we're reaching out to all the folks that we do need to work with at the various points in the development processes.
Very cool. So I appreciate the demo and answering my questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No,
yeah,
for sure.
one other thing I wanted to mention that we kind of did as we were starting the journey. We've got a really great data architect who helped us put together some data governance around Power Platform that we've made available to everybody in the company. We evangelize it when we have our forums. You know, we remind folks. We've also got user guides. So any, you know, technical guardrails that we aren't necessarily wanting to or are able to implement, we've provided users kind of their own guardrails. You know, we don't put, you know, BCSI data. We don't want that in the cloud. You know, things like that. So to George's point, we've got, you know, a really great set of users who seem to understand that, and the user group is growing every day. Folks are becoming a lot more interested in it. They're learning about it. We just recently had a project where we had a group from Parks wanting to put together some dashboards for the executives and didn't know where to start. Once we got them started and pointed them in the right direction and kind of, you know, gave them pep talks every once in a while, they were off to the races and put together some outstanding, you know, reports and dashboards for the executives. So we've got a really willing user base, and I think we're pretty grateful for that.
Yeah, for sure. I know I am 100%. It's like, folks, I mean, people here, they want to be doers, which is awesome. I'll sit with folks as long as it takes because they want to learn, which is, I'm telling you, in this industry, a lot of folks would rather they have the, oh, well, you can do it in 10 minutes mentality, but that just means that I'm going to have to own it in the future. So, I mean, that's the exact opposite here. People want to be taught. So I think that's great.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome to hear that you have a culture of learn it alls, like that's what we call it here. People really want to
Yep.
learn and understand how to apply the capability. So this is amazing. I really wanted to hone in on you saying that this is your first iteration and that you were looking at, other use cases and, and expanding across your environment, like LCRA, you have other areas of your business that are coming to you for insight. Are you seeing an uptick of those other departments and divisions or other groups that are building out their use cases and it's folded into the governance model that you have as well? Are you all kind of stewards because of your placement when it comes to Power Platform or biz applications as a whole? You all somewhat, do you completely allow for them to do you delegate that to that department or to that group, or do you all become stewards at any point in the process of the different solutions that they're building out? And what does the application lifecycle look like for the different groups working within our LCRA leveraging the platform? I'm just kind of interested to hear a little bit about that.
So we do provide some guidance in our governance policies around if it meets a certain threshold of number of users or the threshold of premium licensing or something like that. We do require them to reach out to us for assistance. While we may not necessarily have to own the application or build the application, we make sure that it's not in, a personal productivity environment. We stand up an environment for those users. And depending on the group, they may have the full life cycle of dev, test, prod. It's kind of our preference. But again, it kind of varies on how technical those users are, because what we also don't want to do is overwhelm them and make them shy away from the platform. And that seems to be working out very well. We've also stood up the Power Platform COE. And George and Kevin have been working really hard on getting that to a place that's useful for us so that we can monitor some of those things, looking at flows that are failing, looking at flows that just aren't being run anymore, looking at the apps that are out there and things like that. So that's kind of a work in progress, but I think once we get there, that's going to help tremendously in making sure we're enforcing that governance and people aren't working outside of it and things like that. So we've got, some things in progress. We're still, I feel, early in our journey, and Power Platforms moving at the speed of light. We're trying to keep up. I think we're doing a fairly good job at it, but we're still definitely a work in progress in that area.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with you. Y'all are doing very well at keeping up and doing a really good job of what you're doing within your ecosystem, and the different things that y'all are doing around adoption and governance and so forth. My last question is for me is, as the Gen AI component comes into place and being in this highly regulatory environment, how are you all managing that as well? I know within the platform, just using like machine learning type of concepts around summarizing things from the AI hub, right? It's not necessarily using a co-pilot or anything like that, but I understand that we've had some conversations with agencies in the energy space, and they are really interested in it, but they are trying to wrap their arms around it all at the same time. So I just kind of want to hear from you all
Yeah,
about that.
that's where we are. We're very early in our AI journey. Because we're highly regulated and because we're, in the energy sector and things like that, folks are very cautious about AI. And we really haven't played with it a lot in this space, in the Power Platform space. Not necessarily because nobody wants to, but because we're trying to wrap our arms around AI in general. We've only just begun our M365 Copilot journey, and we're starting that very slowly. So we really haven't played around with it a lot with Power Platform, and unfortunately, I think it's going to be a little while before we get there, just because we're moving pretty slowly with AI.
That's good to know. And I think, cautioning on the side, erring on the side of caution is not a bad thing. It's like you want to make sure you get it right, then go forward, right? I worked in the
Yeah.
Army environment. It was like first right, then forward. And so we get that and we honor that. And so we just like to thank you again for the wonderful demo. You taking the time, answering the questions that were asked, and really I'm excited about what LCRA is going to do next. I want to bring you all back when you have your next solution on the board, so please reach out to me and keep us posted out. I'm a part of your team here in Texas, so I'm really excited about the work that you all are doing. I have a high as far as energy and utilities, we're really trying to better serve that community, and we understand the regulatory constraints that are there. And so we want to make sure we learn as much as we can to ensure we can remove the blockers and make sure that it's not that we're just helping you with enabling things, but you're enabling and you're feeling very comfortable with enabling it in your environment. That's a big proponent of it. So if we don't have any other questions, and if please, I would love to hear from you all to close out. If there's anything that you want to just leave here as a note from your journey from Power Platform, or just the Microsoft platform as a stack of things that you're using or what you're doing in your business, please let us know. Oh, got Chris on. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So again, thanks for organizing and thanks for the demo. I had a question, sir, on your architecture approach. I see you started with a Canvas app and SharePoint. Have you evaluated, model-driven app and Dataverse? And is there some, in your mind, some sort of decision point on where you would go one over the other?
Yes, we have, and we try to size that accordingly to the application. Our benchmarks initially are looking at the volumes. I mean, and trying to be thoughtful in rolling out Dataverse. Try to not use Dataverse for the sake of using Dataverse, because there's the cost associated to using that. So we try to be thoughtful about that. So whenever we start these initiatives, we do try to weigh, okay, what type of volumes are we seeing? We try to project that out. So if we're talking tens of thousands, okay, maybe we might want to start having those other conversations around, okay, let's get you somewhere that's a little more scalable, resilient. Also the security around it. Do we need those foreign key constraints that are kind of native to a Dataverse, for example? But 9 times out of 10, I mean, we're talking hundreds of rows of information, which is well within SharePoint's wheelhouse, so to speak. The volumes aren't there. The necessary security constraints aren't there yet. So that's kind of how we determine where we're going in terms of backbone. So
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah,
for
Chris,
now,
thanks
anyways.
thanks for raising that. George and I had an extensive conversation about
We
this.
sure did.
And I was pretty much explaining basically at scale, where you start to run into some of the blockers and some of the trappings of not leveraging a database engine on the back end. And that's something that we've been talking through. And I think that's a part of the journey, right? And we found that many people start right here. I worked at the city of Austin, and this may come up on the recording, and did a lot of work there. They just recently did a Power Platform wide initiative around the premium because they realized what they needed to do at scale. It made more sense. And so, yeah, and I think we need to continue to have this conversation. For me, I come from a database background, so I'm really I get really nervous when I see those lists being used as a data store. I understand that you only have a couple of hundred records in there right now. We know that tool is going to grow. You have relationships and so forth and on, and you start dealing with when do I run into that wall, and that's what George and I had spoke about before. And for them to be
Yeah,
able
I was
to
just I was
really,
thinking about mixed question, sort of the regulatory overlay, if you will. I think, one of the advantages of the model-driven app and Dataverse approach is, having that audit history you can turn on, right, to those key entities and being able to see who changed what when, what the old value was, what the new value is. I think, I work a lot in healthcare, and, that's also highly regulated. And, we find that a lot very useful is when you get into the things where you really need to track, be able to show a report of the data.
absolutely.
Yep,
So
for sure.
so maybe version 2.0, we'll see it in Dataverse. Who knows, quote unquote. But I think the biggest thing, I think the biggest thing is that y'all have started to your journey. You understand the premium to the components to a degree. And as we have more conversations, I want to make sure this forum is for you to share. We try not to make it seem like we're pushing anything or selling anything, but we do want to highlight where we, as Chris mentioned, where the regulatory standards could probably be met much easier in this framework that you would have, and then some other things that's wrapped around it. But that's for a different discussion at a different time, and we would love to have that discussion with you. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us, and we look forward to the journey that you're on. And at that, there are no other questions. That will conclude our time today. And thanks everybody for your questions and joining us today. Really appreciate it. All right.
Thanks,
Awesome.
everybody.
So.
All
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Yep.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Joe.
All right. Bye now.